She did not even hear the crying of her newborn clearly. Her ears were ringing, her body shaking, and the cold dirt floor beneath her felt like ice. Maria had just given birth inside a filthy barn, alone, abandoned by the family that had taken her in as a servant, and then betrayed her in the darkest moment of her life. They did not care that she was barely 19, that she had no family left, that her child had taken every last drop of strength she had. All they cared about was money. And now, minutes after she brought a tiny life into the world, they were arguing outside about how much she was worth. The door slammed open. A stocky man with a filthy beard walked in, his breath thick with whiskey. "She's young," he muttered. "Healthy enough, I'll take her and the brat." The words hit her like a whip. Maria didn't have the strength to sit up, but she curled her arms around her crying baby, trembling as hot tears slid down her cheeks. "Please, don't take him, he's all I have," she whispered. The man smirked. "You don't get to choose." Outside, another man's voice entered the negotiation, low, controlled, and quiet. "How much?" he asked. Maria hadn't seen him yet, but something in his tone made her look up. The barn door opened again, and a tall cowboy stepped in, covered in trail dust, a long black coat over broad shoulders, a faint scar running down his jaw. He looked nothing like the drunken bidders outside. His eyes were steady, dark, seeing everything. The blood on her dress, the trembling in her hands, the newborn's desperate cries. The owner of the barn spoke quickly. "Take her for 30, she's no trouble, too weak to run." The cowboy didn't look at the seller, he only looked at the girl curled on the floor. "She's not livestock," he said quietly, "and you're going to take 50. The seller blinked. 50, she ain't worth." The cowboy reached into his coat and dropped a thick roll of cash onto the table. The room went silent. Even the drunk man sobered. He walked straight toward her, kneeling slowly so he didn't frighten her. "Ma'am," he said gently, "I'm not here to hurt you, I'm here to take you out of this place." She clutched her baby tighter, still shaking. Where will you take us?" she whispered. He hesitated, as if choosing words carefully. "Somewhere you get to choose your own life." She didn't understand. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. He lifted her slowly into his arms. She was so light he felt her ribs through her dress. When he stood, the barn owner reached toward the baby. "I'll hold the kid." The cowboy's hand dropped to his revolver, and the owner backed away instantly. Without another word, the stranger carried her out into the sunlight. His horse was already saddled. He wrapped her in his coat, shielding the baby from dust. She expected chains, ropes, something cruel. Instead, he spoke softly. "You're safe now." 2 simple words, but she burst into tears. He rode slowly, one arm wrapped around her to keep her steady. She was too weak to sit upright, and her head rested against his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady, calm, a rhythm she had never known. She did not know his name. She did not know why a stranger had bought her only to treat her gently. But she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safety. Hours later, they reached his cabin, a small but warm ranch house tucked between cottonwoods beside a slow river. He dismounted, lifted her carefully, and carried her inside. A fire burned in the stove. A pot of stew simmered. Blankets were folded neatly. The home was quiet, clean, and lived in. "This is your room," he said softly, pushing open a door. "Rest, I'll get water." She stared at him, confused. Why are you doing this?" He paused in the doorway. "Because someone should have helped you long before today." She cried again. He brought her warm water, blankets, clean cloth for her baby. When he turned to leave, she reached out weakly. "Please, don't take him from me." He knelt next to the bed. "Ma'am, I'd never take a child from his mother, ever." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. She smiled weakly for the first time. "What's your name?" "Cole," he said. "Cole Harrison." "I'm Maria," she whispered. "I know," he murmured. "They kept shouting your name." That night while she slept, he fed the horses, fixed the door hinge, and sat on the porch staring at the moon. He wasn't a man of many words. He had lived 5 years in silence after losing his wife and unborn child to a winter fever. He had ridden alone across 3 states, taking odd jobs, avoiding people, avoiding pain. But when he saw Maria on the barn floor, broken, trembling, freshly torn from childbirth, something inside him woke up. Something protective, something human. The next morning, Maria woke to the smell of warm bread. Cole was cooking awkwardly, clearly out of practice, but he set the plate down gently. "Eat slow," he said. She did. Tears fell silently. She had not eaten a meal like this in months. Days passed. Cole built a rocking crib for the baby. He mended her shoes. He patched the roof so rain wouldn't fall in her room. Maria grew stronger. Her baby, whom she named Elias, grew healthy. She watched Cole quietly from the window as he worked the land. He never asked for anything, never touched her without asking, never entered her room unless called. One evening, as she stood by the river washing clothes, Cole approached with his hat in his hands. "Maria, I need to tell you something." Her heart raced. "Are you sending us away?" "No," he said quickly. "Never," he hesitated. "I didn't buy you to own you, I bought you so nobody else could." She stared at him, breath unsteady. "You saved my life," she whispered. "You and Elias saved mine too," he answered softly. Her eyes filled with tears. She stepped closer. "What kind of man does that for a stranger?" Cole swallowed, his voice rough. "A man who's lost before and won't let it happen again." Their bond grew quietly, slowly. She helped him cook. He taught her how to ride a gentle mare. She taught him how to soothe Elias when he cried. They began to laugh again, something neither had done in years. But the world was not kind. One afternoon, the men who had sold her returned, armed, demanding more money. They wanted the girl back or payment in blood. Cole stepped outside, standing between them and the cabin. Maria watched from the doorway, heart pounding. "You sold her," Cole said calmly. "She's free now." "She ain't free," the leader spat. "Girls like her never are." Cole's jaw tightened. The men reached for their guns. Before they could draw, Cole's revolver was already raised. A single warning shot hit the dirt near their boots. "Next one goes through bone," he said coldly. His voice was so calm it chilled them more than the gun. The men backed away. "This ain't over, Harrison." Cole holstered the gun. "It is," he said, turning his back on them. No one had ever turned their back on those men before. They left without another word. That night, Maria approached him on the porch. "You risked your life for us," she whispered. "I'd do it again," he said. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Cole, do you want us to stay, truly stay?" He turned, eyes softening. "Maria, this is your home as long as you want it." "What if I want more than a home?" she whispered. His breath caught. "Maria," she took his hand and placed it on her heart. "I want a life with you." His voice broke. "I've been afraid to hope for that." She leaned into him, and his arms wrapped around her as if she had always belonged there. Seasons changed. The ranch prospered. Elias took his first steps on the porch. Cole lifted him high, laughing for the first time in years. Maria watched them, her heart full. One evening under the cottonwood tree, Cole knelt and held out a simple ring. "I don't want to buy you," he whispered. "I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes." Their wedding was small. Just a preacher who passed by, the open sky, and a baby who giggled through the vows. Maria kissed Cole with a love she once thought she'd never have. He kissed her back as if she was the last miracle on earth. Years later, people would whisper about the girl who had been sold after childbirth and the scarred cowboy who bought her freedom. But Maria didn't care. She was too busy laughing at the dinner table, rocking her son to sleep, and holding Cole's hand every night. She had been sold to die, but he bought her so she could live. And together they built a new life, one chosen, one cherished, one earned by kindness stronger than any cruelty in the world.